Darth, Theorist, rise. What if the Jedi Temple guards prevented Order 66? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. Master Syral Gabem, commander of the Jedi Temple guards, closes his eyes as he senses the advancing army in the distance. He knew many of his comrades were still blind to the impending danger, understandably so. They did not know the time and place of this attack, unlike him. In fact, they were not even supposed to be alive anymore. Of the thousands of Jedi in the temple, the 300 or so temple guards were the most dangerous. They were also among the best fighters still there, and that is why the Chancellor had tasked him with eliminating them before the attack. They are the final obstacle that stands between the crumbling Jedi Order and a new dawn. Eliminate them, and you shall secure your place and a seat in the new galaxy. Grand Inquisitor was the title Palpatine promised him, the reward for accomplishing this task. It would have been easy enough to accomplish. He could kill many in their sleep, slip poison in their food to dull their senses, or send them out in dangerous situations to have their numbers whittled down. And yet, Syral could not bring himself to do it. For one, they were his comrades. He had spent decades honing his skills with them, serving under his elders and guiding their younger guards. But he also could not bring himself to believe in Palpatine's vision. To be sure, the Jedi were corrupt and rotted, and yet everyone knew that. What he did not agree with was Palpatine's cure for that dilemma, to drag the Senate into the matter and to have them serve as the new authority. It would be as if he were numbing the pain of an infected limb by taking death sticks. Both were poison, and he would take neither. Instead, as he hears the army coming closer, he turns back to the temple and rouses the garrison. They will not take it unawares tonight, or ever again. Temple guardsmen slowly appear in the barracks, some having just woken up, others in the middle of training or meditating. All look equally confused as they stare at Syral. He does not waste time with explanations, but instead begins giving instructions.
The temple will come under attack shortly. I sense it. We have been betrayed, and our foe draws near. There is not much time. Gather who you can, now.
Although puzzled, they know Syral, and many rush to obey. The temple guards gather all the best knights and masters to defend critical points, while the older Jedi are placed in the back to watch the younglings, with escape paths being opened. Lastly, he sends a message across the galaxy to the Jedi Order, warning them of the danger. When the clones begin their attack, they find the temple fully prepared for them. At the top of the courtyard, half of the temple guards and several of their best fighters are there to meet him. Their weapons flash as they rush to intercept the clones at the very steps of the temple. In seconds, the ground shakes as if the Force itself recoils from this attack. Dozens fall at once, either from blaster fire and explosives or lightsabers. Yet the Jedi get the better of this fight, at least until Anakin joins. He emerges from a cluster of clones, his lightsaber igniting as he cuts down one of the lead temple guards before he can even react. The fallen Jedi doesn't slow down as he whirls around and takes a Jedi Master next. He throws a burst of Force energy that sends others scattering, allowing the clones to rally and pick off stragglers. In seconds, the fight shifts again as the surviving Jedi watch in surprise. He sees how things are going and begins to retreat, pulling back up the steps. Anakin raises his lightsaber and orders his men to follow them. That is when Syral springs his trap. From the sides, he and another 100 Jedi strike the clones' flanks as they advance onto the door. The troopers are too stunned to react, and many fall. The temple guard takes the lead, twirling his lightsaber and creating a protective arc for the Jedi to retreat behind, and cutting through the clones when they get close. His comlink flares, reporting fighting spreading across the entire temple. While their lines are holding, there are points where the troopers are making progress. However, the critical position is the temple steps. They cannot hold it. Then they must ensure the Republic forces cannot access it. As he watches Anakin advance through the 501st ranks, cutting down 2 of his temple guards, he knows what must be done. Raising his comlink into the air, he activates the hidden explosives planted along the steps, which go off in a chain reaction. Men scream and are smothered by the sound of exploding metal and stone. The security cameras show the steps being turned to rubble. The stone tumbles off the edge as the foundation becomes unsteady. More and more chunks of debris tumble into the ground. This leaves the stairway unusable, and those who have crossed trapped. Syral sees the opportunity immediately and begins calling for reinforcements here.
All troops focus on the courtyard. The leader of this assault is here with us. Defeat him, and we shall secure victory.
He raises his lightsaber and lets out a roar, furiously cutting through the clones as he buys them time. Amidst the chaos of this battle, he fights his way over to Anakin, who continues to rally his remaining men. While he might nearly be untouchable, the same cannot be said for his soldiers, who quickly begin to fall before the Jedi's numbers. While the gunship above tries to ferry reinforcements, these are limited and easily able to be shot down. It is a losing battle, and more of Anakin's men are cut down as Jedi reinforcements arrive. Seeing the battle turning against him, Anakin tries to hold them off. Many Jedi fall before him, but Syral is careful to ensure he is not among them. Instead, he hangs back, using the Force to direct the Jedi's anger and outrage. They had seen their beloved temple nearly fall before them, and many are eager to unleash their anger somewhere. All the guardsmen need to do is direct it there. Still, nearly a dozen guardsmen and many more knights fall before Anakin is overwhelmed, but at last, one lucky strike sends his lightsaber flying from his grasp. Syral grabs a blaster from a fallen clone and fires a stun round, just as Anakin tries to retrieve his weapon. As he falls, the whole temple descends in silence, trying to understand what is going on. He can feel their emotions, their doubt, anger, and despair. These are emotions foreign to many of these Jedi, even the most seasoned ones. That is what leaves them vulnerable. Syral pounces on this moment of weakness and begins to channel it. Raising his lightsaber above his head, he appears like a conquering god.
Take him to the brig. In the meantime, there is still much we need to do. This attack was no random act of violence. It was a betrayal conducted by a man we thought we could trust. I do not refer to young Skywalker, but to a far greater danger. The Chancellor. I know this because he attempted to bribe me into opening the gates to the Jedi Temple, but I chose not to betray our order. Instead, I promise you victory and justice for those willing to follow me.
Many of the younger Jedi, lost and confused, are quick to rally to his side. Even some of the older members look uncertain. They had never expected something like this. Soon, he had more than 100 volunteers with him. They board some of the captured gunships and begin making their way to the Senate. The Chancellor is in the midst of his grand speech to the Senate, telling them of the Jedi's betrayal. He shows the scars on his face left by Mace Windu, saying how the Jedi had cruelly attacked him while he lay helpless in an attempt to take control of the government.
It was only thanks to the timely intervention of my good friend Anakin Skywalker that I was able to survive. Still, after the attack, I realized just how vulnerable our Republic is to falling. Until such a time that we have peace, true peace. I cannot, in good conscience, leave my office while this government remains vulnerable. Though my body is battered, I shall step forward and continue my task of restoring peace and security to this galaxy.
The Senate breaks out into applause as they hear this news. Many are moved by this speech and rise to their feet to thank the Chancellor for his service. Palpatine smiles and basks in their thanks, but inwardly, he instead closes his eyes and feels something else. Power, the surge of darkness within the Force as the Jedi fall, one by one. He drinks it in, feeling more alive than ever before, and because of that, he nearly misses the sound of clapping as the rest of the Senate quiets down. It is slow and mocking, coming from the repulsor pods. A few delegates gasp as they see who stands there. A Palpatine Jedi Temple guard, his lightsaber still clipped to his belt. Guards move in front of their senators, while Senate commandos take aim.
Arrest this man at once!
Oh, yes. By all means. All I ask is that you hear what I have to say.
I am not interested in the words of a traitor. See to it that this man is locked up.
Is that how the Senate works? One man speaks his story and the whole government agrees without hearing anything else. I would have assumed the Republic would have learned its lesson after being dragged into this war. Enough. Speak your mind, Jedi.
Syral bows and places a holodisc to display a communication between him and Palpatine.
My friend, I sense your doubt in the Jedi Order, your pain and your anger. You do not need to serve them forever. They are a failing order, one whose days are numbered. But you need not fall with them. I offer you a chance to remake the galaxy with me, to create a new order.
As the communication ends, many turn to the Chancellor questioningly. They had not seen this information when Palpatine was pleading his case. The Chancellor defends himself and explains that he was trying to gather spies to learn about the Order's intentions. Yet Bail and the others pounce on this and ask why he did not inform the Senate of these suspicions if he was so concerned. While there isn't enough there to guarantee an arrest, They agree that any calls to extend Palpatine's term must be postponed until they can learn more about the situation. In the meantime, he will be detained and stripped of all powers until then. The clones are also called off, but the Jedi are to be closely monitored. Syral makes sure to use this time wisely. With the knife removed from the Jedi Order's throat, he quickly takes command of the remaining Jedi in the temple. His justification is, with most of the Jedi Council dead, he is the highest-ranking man within the Order, something few can argue with. It is a temporary command, but still a command. However, he will need more than that, and needs to help consolidate power. Thankfully, he has just the figure for that. In the detention facility, he has some of his most trusted temple guards watching Anakin. However, both men quickly bow and leave once he enters. Syral regards the Jedi thoughtfully. He already suspects Palpatine has bought the Jedi somehow, if not with money, then with the dark side.
You seem troubled, my boy. If you are worried about your fate, rest assured that I do not intend to execute you, as long as you prove willing to cooperate.
I have no interest in cooperating with the likes of you.
Oh, forgive me. I find that unlikely. Not after you were so willing to work with the Chancellor. That is why I am here to make a similar offer. One you are not in a position to say no to.
You have nothing to offer that I could want.
Oh? Is that so? We shall see about that. What is it that the Chancellor offered that was so enticing in the first place, my boy?
The chance to save the one I care for the most.
Ah. Love. A dreadful bond, yet so easily severed.
Not with the powers of the dark side.
You are a fool to think that only the dark side can provide such powers. There are ways that even a Jedi can access such gifts. The forbidden section in the archives.
You're lying.
On the contrary, the Jedi have always loved playing God, and saving people from death certainly fits. As a temple guard, I can get you these holocrons, provided you help me testify against the Chancellor. Expose your deception, and I shall let you be a free man, free to spend your life with this beloved of yours.
And why would you do that? Why not just leave me here to rot after you were finished with me?
Because with any rise to power, there must be fear.
Over the course of the next few days, things move at a breakneck pace as Anakin suddenly announces his intent to testify before the Senate. Although confused, many allow this, and there he reveals everything. The Jedi talks about how he had tried to meddle in the affairs of the Jedi and was assigned to keep watch over the Chancellor. It was during that time that Palpatine reached out and tried to corrupt him. He told him about his master, Darth Plagueis, and offered to teach him secrets of the dark side if he joined him. Not only that, he tried to turn him against the Jedi Order and admitted his intent to reshape the galaxy, which meant staying in power as he had intended. Anakin was a war hero and well known to be one of Palpatine's closest confidants. His words carry more weight than those of a single temple guard. When the rest of the Senate hears that, they are convinced there was indeed more to this than they had realized. The Senate, especially Palpatine's faction, offers its sincerest apologies to the Jedi Order, offering to rebuild the temple and compensate them for everything that happened. It was a kind offer, far more than what they were expecting to receive.
I have heard the offerings of the Senate. It is a generous deal, and shows their commitment to righting this wrong. I want them to know that this offer has been heard and is deeply appreciated. However, we cannot accept it.
The words send a gasp across the Senate, who fall silent and stare at the Jedi Master, wondering if they had heard correctly. But Syral appears serious and bows his head.
While I appreciate that, that will not solve the underlying problem of the Jedi Order. These events have shown that our Order is too intimately tied with the Senate and the Republic as a whole. We have strayed from the original intention of the Force, allowing ourselves to be bogged down by politics. If we are to fix these problems and reform the Order, we must do so independently.
He lets that announcement hang in the Senate building before smiling.
That being said, that does not mean we shall completely sever ties with the Senate, especially now. We shall continue supporting the Republic in its war with the CIS and guarding former Chancellor Palpatine.
This seems to be enough to satisfy some of the Senate, who agree to these provisions, though others remain upset. Regarding what should happen to Anakin, Syral insists that he is a member of the Jedi Council, and he must be tried amongst his peers. When some protest at this, the Jedi Guard is quick to remind them of the last time the Senate attempted to intervene. He personally assigns the men charged with watching the Chancellor, selecting guards who have felt similarly conflicted with his idea. He told him all about his vision, so they could not be tempted away by Palpatine. When they arrive in the prison, Syral takes a moment to stop by one of the cells and regards its captor.
You were right, you know, about everything the Jedi have become.
So you finally see. But it is too little too late.
Not quite. There is still time to stop the key from turning, and you may have a role to play.
So I suppose your negotiation with the Senate includes a pardon for me?
Unfortunately not. But do not fear, because you are right where you need to be.
And what shall happen to the rest of the Jedi Council? If you mean to change the Jedi Order, you will need to deal with them, you know.
Believe me, I do. I have a plan for that. In the meantime, get comfortable. You're basically on vacation. And be sure to tell me if something is happening here.
Of course, her words prove to be true, as not long after, Obi-Wan and Yoda arrive and are ready to take command of the Jedi Order. When they hear of everything that transpired, their opinions are mixed, to say the least. On the one hand, while they appreciate Syral's handling of the situation, they do not support his attempts to go above their authority. Things like meeting with Anakin and declaring the Jedi's independence were things he did not have the right to do. However, whether he had authority to act or not is irrelevant, as he had widespread support from the surviving Jedi Order. Many of those who survived the attack in the Jedi Temple saw him leading, saw the Senate nearly outlaw them, and the corruption of the Republic firsthand. They are quite eager to leave. The Jedi who trickle in from the Outer Rim find themselves seriously outvoted. Even Anakin agrees, as he had secretly been given holocrons from the forbidden sections of the archives, showing him how to heal someone on the brink of death, and being allowed to leave after his testimony to visit his wife and help her during the birth.
I understand the difficult position you were in. We do. Few options you had. But bear this burden alone. You must not. Difficult is the responsibility, especially when the war is still at bay.
We are not here to challenge your authority or your decisions, because it seems you have indeed worked hard. That is why we are offering you a seat on the Jedi Council.
They gesture to one of the empty seats, now left open because of the recent attack. The temple guard sets himself down and looks at the pair in surprise, nodding his head.
This is most unexpected, Masters. I am grateful for the responsibility you are entrusting me with.
Indeed. But it is also why we wish to talk to you. You cannot continue to operate the Jedi Order as your personal organization. Restoring the Council will allow us to act better, as a unit.
Indeed. You can count on me, Master.
Syral moves carefully, never openly challenging Yoda or Obi-Wan, but planting seeds. In every meeting with the surviving Jedi, he frames them as relics of a broken council. The younger Jedi, scarred by the attack and hungry for change, begin to see Syral's vision as the future. Quietly, they side with him. He speaks with Yoda and Obi-Wan directly, but not as an enemy. Instead, he lays out what Palpatine once promised him, how he contacted him, and the worry he has that others might be compromised. All of that is portrayed as an attempt to stop future Sith attacks, but instead shows the two as having no idea what was happening. Neither Yoda or Obi-Wan is blind enough to notice this, and their eyes narrow each time he talks about it, taking note of his tone and his eagerness to remind them of their shortcomings. They strike back and decide to send him somewhere else.
That is why we must continue to cooperate with the Senate. Master Yoda and I are the most well-connected, and we can ensure things get done. In the meantime, you seem quite passionate about this pivot away from Coruscant, Master Syral. Why don't you handle it and begin establishing outposts?
It was a move to get rid of him, and Syral knows it. He wishes to argue, but he knows he cannot back down from that task, not after he's spoken so much about its importance. Instead, he bows stiffly and gathers a few trusted allies to depart with him, heading off to some Outer Rim planets that seem in need of the Jedi support. However, with the war still raging, the droids and other parties, like pirates and marauders, are quick to take advantage and attack these outposts. This leaves Syral and his men as the only ones who can defend them, as without Senate support, they are not inclined to send clones. When these attacks do happen, Obi-Wan is quick to use them as proof that they will still need to cooperate with the Senate. They need to win them over and gain their support, at least until the war ends. At the same time, they work to limit the Temple Guard's influence. His men are removed from important positions and replaced with allies of the older Jedi Order. This includes guarding the chancellor. Despite that, they promise to make reforms as they see how popular they are with the Jedi. Yet, many younger Jedi begin to see Yoda and Obi-Wan looking like Senate lackeys, clinging to the very institution that betrayed them. Meanwhile, Syral builds something new. He organizes the guards and younger Jedi into outposts scattered across the galaxy. While fighting off these attacks proves difficult, his training allows him to cling on and drive them back. And slowly, he creates independent strongholds, free of Coruscant and the Senate's pull. His supporters whisper of a rebirth, a Jedi Order unchained. And when his plans are ready, the final blow falls. With the transition of positions in Coruscant, loyal guards under his command quietly sabotage Palpatine's prison. Defenses are weakened just enough for him to make his escape. The Chancellor vanishes into the shadows, and all signs point to negligence in his escape. To the public eye, it is the fault of Yoda and Obi-Wan, the so-called garrisons of the Senate. Both Jedi know this will be a death blow if they do not do something about it. They are the last of the Old Guard, and had made a point of showing how cooperating with the Senate is beneficial to the Order. They quickly mobilize all of the Senate's resources to try and track them down. The trail is faint, but Yoda feels it pulsing like a bruise in the Force. The chip they planted on Palpatine hums in his mind, guiding him and Obi-Wan through the corridors of the abandoned tracking station. Rusted durasteel creaks overhead, screens flicker with ghostly static. The air smells of dust, oil, and something older, something foul. And then he is there. Palpatine stands in the center of the chamber, no longer the mask of the Chancellor, but the full shadow of the Sith. His hood is low over his scarred face, his voice cold as iron.
You think chains and cells could hold me? Fools, the Republic is mine. Even now, its senators whisper my words in their sleep. Strike me down, and I shall become eternal.
We shall see.
Eternal. Nothing is. End all things must.
Snarling, Palpatine ignites his lightsaber. Lightning lashes from Palpatine's fingers, tearing consoles to molten slag. Obi-Wan meets him in the storm, blade intercepting arcs of power while Yoda darts low, striking at the Sith's legs and wrists. The Dark Lord fights back with desperation, his fury shaking the chamber, but together the two Jedi force him back. He uses that same molten slag and hurls it at them, forcing both Jedi to leap out of the way. Palpatine then rushes towards Obi-Wan, who raises his blade to parry the strike. He directs the blade downward and kicks Palpatine back as Yoda comes from behind, striking low and quick. The Sith curses and moves through these strikes, watching them glance off and nearly strike him down. However, he manages to keep them back before throwing another shockwave that rips up the floors. Yoda nimbly leaps aside and lifts his arm, sending the metal flying aside. Palpatine prepares to charge him again, but Obi-Wan strikes first. His sword flies out from nowhere and severs the Sith's weapon hand. At last, Yoda leaps high, his blade biting deep into Palpatine's chest. He screams and tumbles to the ground, slowly dying as he collapses, lifelessly. The two Jedi breathe hard, relief washing through the Force. The Sith Lord is gone, but the chamber doors slam open. Syral steps in. Beside him walks Anakin, silent but watchful, and Barra Sophie, her eyes unreadable in the dark.
It is done. You're too late, Syral. Not completely. There is still one more thing that needs to be done. The Council's last survivors finished their work, but you will not be returning to Coruscant.
Obi-Wan's blade snaps up again, but Yoda merely frowns. The Force trembles with what is to come. The battle explodes. Syral's strikes are relentless, calculated, while Anakin presses Obi-Wan hard, his old master forced to fight with every ounce of skill. Though he might not serve Palpatine, he's still delusioned with the Jedi Order, seeing its failures and corruption fester. That was what allowed Palpatine to rise and trick him, and because of that, he continues to press hard against him, refusing to yield any ground as he rains down attacks on it. Obi-Wan is surprised by the fury of these blows and struggles to hold them back, but eventually slips past his assault. Meanwhile, Syral and Barriss rush at him, their blades flashing at Yoda in synchronization. But the young Jedi manages to slide through their attacks. He dives under them and whirls at their legs. Barriss leaps back, but the temple guard twirls his staff and uses the bottom blade to halt it. For a moment, he manages to intercept these attacks, but they last only a moment as Yoda rains down strikes once again, each one more complex than the last. Soon, Syral is forced to retreat from the blows and twirls his lightsaber to try and block Yoda's attacks. This is only partially successful, as the Jedi simply leaps over him and aims to cut at Syral's head, who must jerk aside. Taking a deep breath, he watches as Yoda approaches him, weapon flashing. For long moments, the chamber is nothing but fire, fury, and the roar of clashing sabers. But it becomes clear the Jedi Masters are not so easily destroyed. Despite their wariness, Yoda and Obi-Wan turn the tide, their defense tightening, their counters forcing Syral and Anakin back step by step. The two share a grim look at one another, and then gesture to Barriss, who breaks off from trying to attack Yoda and instead rushes at Obi-Wan. The younger Jedi Master turns to block these strikes while she struggles to hold back their attacks. Syral and Anakin make a break for it. They sprint out for the Ops Center and shut the door behind them. She deactivates her blade, slipping between both Jedi. The fight halts for a heartbeat, confusion flashing across Obi-Wan's face.
Barriss, what are you doing?
Ending this. All of it. Neither of you can be allowed to return. The cycle must break.
From beyond the door, the two Jedi offer a respectful nod.
You've done your job well, girl.
She pulls back her hood, revealing small, glimmering motes crawling beneath her skin. Microdroids swarming through her veins like poison.
No.
Barriss locks the blast doors with a flick of the Force, sealing herself in with Yoda and Obi-Wan.
Forgive me.
A flash, a sound like thunder tearing through steel. The chamber erupts in white fire. The shockwave rattles the walls of the station, smoke and flame devouring everything inside. When the dust clears, the chamber is a blackened ruin. Palpatine's corpse lies shattered. Yoda and Obi-Wan are gone, and Barriss with them. Syral lowers his blade, watching the smoke curl into the rafters. Slowly, deliberately, he turns to Anakin.
It is done. The old masters are gone. Now the future belongs to us.
With Yoda and Anakin's demise, no one is left to challenge them. To cover things up, they simply state that Barriss, Yoda, and Obi-Wan all died attempting to bring Palpatine to justice. Anakin is also listed as killed in action, so he can disappear quietly as payment for his cooperation. This leaves Syral as the undisputed leader of the Jedi Order. Now that no one is challenging them, he soon relocates the Jedi headquarters to the Outer Rim. And with the war with the CIS dragging on now, that Palpatine isn't there to bring it to a quick end, this leaves opportunities for the Jedi to expand their influence and begin establishing new holdings, not merely as an order of knights, but as their own faction in the galaxy. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.